God is not asking from you to be satisfied with the belief in the idea of God. God is not asking you to live a superficial life. God is actually constantly calling you home, constantly calling you into unity with Him, being one with God. But you have to face the fears that you have in life, right? Because God is life. And our ultimate trauma was us being rejected, who we are as a full spectrum human being expressed through this body, right? And so, because now we fear being in the body, being seen in the body, we like to escape in the mind where we can be hidden from the rest of the world. So then we live in the mind as an escape, distraction from the body, being seen in the body, where because of disembodiment are not grounded into reality and come to know God. So then we live in the mind, doubting the existence of God because we haven't proven it to ourselves in the body. Because until you have experience, you can believe anything, right? Only experience proves if what you believe is true or not, right? Only if your philosophy can be proven on the physical level, we can say that it is true or false. Only once your spirituality applies to all levels of life, it makes sense. If it's practical, if it's grounded, it makes sense. We can say it's true or false, right? So until you haven't faced the fear of expressing, faced the rejection that you are living in, the fearing of expressing your full spectrumness through the body, by facing life as it is every moment of your life and being dedicated to it until you face all of the fear that you have from being whole, and thus be capable of remaining open with every next moment, aligned, and thus one with God, right? So, until you have proven this to yourself, you will not have clarity in life, because you will be living in the mind, not having zero proof, just acquiring information and being lost and not knowing how to understand this reality, and so then imagining 10,000 things, living in illusions, right? So God is not asking to lead such a superficial life like a weak being. You are a child of God. If you're a child of God, you don't need some guru between you and the God, because God is your parent. So the only thing He asks from you is to accept Him fully, by accepting yourself fully, by accepting your individual life experience fully. So by accepting everything that's presented, gets presented every second of your life in your individual experience, and stop escaping it into the mind, where you will not face yourself and thus know God, right? So start facing the fear of being in the body in this moment, being seen in the body in this moment, and remain being open for the rest of your life. This is the only way where you are not escaping anymore into the mind, where you are not betraying yourself, where you are not living in delusion that you can reject a part of yourself, because you can't. It will anyway be manifested, but unconsciously, thus suffering, in order to wake you up into a realization that God is the highest authority and there is no way of disobeying it. If you disobey it, you cannot live a different life than how God has ordained it to be. You will disobey it. You will live in the illusion that you live in your own kind of way, but constantly be suffering. And that suffering is there, God reminding you that you can't live in your own kind of way, that you should return to how God has ordained life to be. So God is actually pretty strict. He is demanding obedience. And if you don't obey him, he will punish you. This is how God is. And if you believe it or not, being obedience to God, even though it sounds like a tyranny, because otherwise then he will punish you, it is not tyranny, because obedience to God brings heaven to you and to everybody else. So being tyrannical because of disobedience, it is actually a sign of immense love from God, because he knows better than you what you and the people need in life. So he's willing to be tyrannical, bring you suffering, to bring you back to love, to recognition of your power, the acceptance of himself through yourself, and thus bring all of this to humanity. Finally, by embodiment, full understanding of God, of life, where you can actually lead others into groundedness, and not just mental masturbation and selling some spiritual religious philosophies on how life should be, right? You can actually guide people into unity that cannot break, that cannot be deceived anymore, that cannot be weakened, because it's not guided by the mind, by some kind of rules, by just a belief in some kind of system in the mind, but it is guided by the highest power, by the source. So God truly doesn't want for you to be living in the superficiality of life, in the mind. That's why you're suffering life. He's trying to wake you up to embody him. So to fully understand him, you have to be holistic with your experience of life in order to holistically grasp it, understand it, right? If you don't, then you don't understand it, and then you can imagine many things. So God is truly not asking you to just depend on the belief into the idea of him, but actually into experience of him.